Hello, Gavin from CSV Getter here. I'm really excited to demo an exciting new feature we've added to the app, which is Inline SQL, a way to basically structure your CSV exports from Airtable. If you're not familiar with CSV Getter, it's an app where you can log in, connect your Airtable account, and with it, you can basically create these dynamic export URLs, which will give up-to-date either CSV or JSON packet with the latest data from Airtable. We have a great UI for basically finding a database and a table, selecting all the data you'd like to export, and basically what you can do is you can get an export URL for your Airtable data, which can be used at any time to either back up your data or analyze it in a tool like Excel. The other features that we have are stuff like auth headers to make your export secure. You can enable auth and have the URL user pass an auth header in to your export, which can be set by you and can be set here. And now the latest feature that we have available is Inline SQL. And this is very new and it's still in beta, and I'm excited to show it off, and I'm quite keen to find out basically what the users or potential users think of this feature and if it's going to be useful in any processes. So here's my export URL, and if I copy and paste this, I like testing these URLs in an app called Postman. And if you're not familiar with Postman, it's a bit like an internet browser, except you can do more involved API requests like this one, which is obviously not returning an HTML page, it's returning CSV data. And it shows it down here. This is basically my Airtable data as comma separated value. Now, the inline SQL is, at the moment, it's going to work just by passing SQL into URL here using a URL parameter. I might be changing it so that you can save the SQL in the database and reference it with a token, but right now I'm just going to pass it straight in so I can kind of show you how this is working so far. So the parameter that we want to use is SQL. I'm using Postman to put the keys in here, but alternatively you can just pass it straight into the URL. And my table here is being exported, and if I put in some SQL, how it's going to work is that the table that you're always exporting from your URL is going to be called CSV Getter. So here we're exporting the full table because that's the default option. But now if I pass in some SQL to only select the top line from the table, as I say, the output table is always going to be called CSV Getter. We can see that we only see one line of the data. So obviously if we're in our URL settings, we can choose the output fields of our data, and I could just basically change these at the source by deselecting them, and that will change the CSV Getter out. But now if I want to do it more dynamically, then I can just select certain fields using SQL here. So I can do, for example, name and vendor. And as you can see, we've only selected three columns and selected one row with this little bit of SQL. And that's just passed straight into the URL here. So basically anything you think of that you can do with SQL, which is reading data, you can now do with CSV Getter. So here's a demo. Let's say I want to create a custom export URL for this data. Someone's going to use it outside of Airtable. They're not interested in my Airtable data. All I want them to know about is basically the sum of all my unit costs, for example. So I can do name, unit cost. To be honest, I'm not really interested in name. So as you can see, if I now remove the SQL, and the CSV Getter is the default, which is just the column I've selected. And to add a little bit of SQL here, I'm just going to do select sum unit cost. I don't need to limit one because it's going to be one value anyway. And now you can see that the export result of this URL is the sum of all my unit costs. And then there's plenty of other things we could do with SQL here for specific use cases, export use cases, which is filtering by date. Anything that you can think of that could be passed into the URL dynamically can now be done with this enabled. As I say, this is brand new. I don't know even if it's going to be useful. I'm looking to see what the users think. Yes, feedback is encouraged, so please let me know. And thanks for watching.